Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Morning,
Hi,
everyone.
Happy Friday, y'all.
Yeah.
Seems like only yesterday that you were saying happy Wednesday on Monday morning.
That's true, because that's kind of what I do is I forget what day of the week it is. And let me adjust the camera angle there just a little bit.
So,
yeah.
I thought I had spots. That's actually on me. So, we're seeing ourselves on the thing. Like,
camera check, camera check.
We got spots on our screen here.
I am. And, I've been looking for readers that don't do that. So if anybody has knows of where I can get readers that don't do the light glare, not just for myself, but for other people.
Poor girl was sitting at coffee this morning with one temple missing from one pair of glasses.
I know. I honestly should have stock in Costco readers.
Yeah.
Because they're good morning, Zohim.
I don't know. Help us
good
out
morning,
with the
and Bill.
Glad
good
to have
morning
you here
to
from
you.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, and happy Friday.
Hi, Bill Elizondo.
Bill Elizondo. So it's Friday. We've had a really good week.
Yeah,
and a lot of good stuff that's been things just continue moving forward. It's just like one step in front of another, and continuing to work on our business as well as in our business. Got to pay the bills. And it's just, things are coming together.
It's been an interesting sort of period where it's exciting. I mean, it's fun stuff to do. But it feels like sometimes you finish one thing and then there's two more opportunities that pop up, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, wow.
When do we get to rest?
What are you going to say? We do enjoy the self-employment and the opportunity to pursue what is of interest to us, which everybody who's listening knows that they know what interests us and kind of where we're going.
Oh yeah. And the beauty of entrepreneurship is that you really get to be master of your day and master of what you create, what you choose to create. And there's it's a beautiful thing. And when you're in build mode, there's just a lot that needs to be taken care of.
So a couple of quick announcements. First of all, just got to tell you, for our August 1st event, which is just around the corner, it's a week from Tuesday, right? So we got some really important stuff coming together for that. And also watch for your email. Keep an eye out for your email. Your subject line is going to say BHPH Nation TV, and look for that later today. And you will want to take that survey. We're going to do tickets for the event on Tuesday. But as far as the event itself, I mean, Michelle and I talked through last night some new information about that, and it ties to our subject today about cost of car.
And
she saw me go full on nerd.
Last night. Oh my gosh, it was beautiful. I really find that attractive in him. Just when he's just like, oh, numbers.
I don't remember making that sound.
Well, you don't. It's I'm their sound effects person.
Gotcha. So. Okay, that's true. That's what you do.
Yes.
But no, it's really fascinating. Like, we're just embarking. Today is just kind of an introduction to a much bigger conversation that I'm really excited to step into about. It's fascinated me through most of my career. Like, I've just been interested in this whole thing. And so we're now in a position to start to find those answers.
Yeah. And he was mapping out how visually some of the information would look for this event. And I was like,
we're going to have visuals on Tuesday.
We're going to have
on the 1st.
Yeah. And it's as we were going through it, he's like, no one's talked about this. And it not in this kind of way, and where it's like it will be just very mapped out, and it's like all of the different things. There's a lot of different pieces for this this part of the thing on August 1st, but mapping out how as a loan progresses, how different things shift.
Yeah.
And, finding that sweet spot, or finding, it's like, when do things have the highest value and the lowest value? And it's like all of the pieces in relation to each other.
Yep.
It's really cool.
It's way cool.
So like I said, I just kind of like, I find that so attractive in him. So I love it when he's like, I got a way of being able to present it, because it was pretty enjoyable for me.
Good. Yeah, no, I think what she saw is I got really energized around the opportunity to be able to bring this information to the industry. And I'm talking about being able to show it on a single slide and be able to change the numbers and see the chart and bring the experts.
So do you want to just kind of give them a little bit of a teaser about?
No,
okay. Okay. Well, it's about deal structure.
It's about deal structure. It's
a piece of it that we didn't have on the agenda normally, but we just like, we should talk about this. It's there now.
Like, we're going to show that visual definitely on Tuesday the 1st, because I look forward to getting feedback from Brent Carmichael and Chuck as we talk through this, because it's really, let me back up a little bit. I have said to a lot of people, lenders, potential, I mostly talk about it in the context of meeting, either it's a new bank who doesn't have real exposure to buy here, pay here. They don't fully understand the business, or it's a potential private investor who might be new to that industry. And I find myself talking about this thing about, in my view, the collateral is the contract rather is the primary collateral.
Yes.
And then the car is the secondary collateral, because you'll meet people. And part of what started this conversation for me was, dealers were having some conversation on Thread about LTV, loan to value. Well, loan to value in a subprime or secondary indirect context where you're sending the paper to somebody else, that would be one thing. For us in buy here, pay here, where we're going to own the paper, then I always just like, what's the actual math for loan to value? Like, I've been around this business 20 years, and I think it's an interesting thing to figure out. Mostly what I'm trying to get to, though, is that when I'm talking to a potential investor, I'm saying the car is kind of secondary collateral. It's like, that's only a factor. The value of the car is only a factor in a repo liquidation scenario, right? Which we know is, even as high as it is in buy here, pay here, is still, say 30% of the time, the value of the car comes into play. Otherwise, it's the value of the contract and the value of the stream of cash. So one of the things I look forward to charting out is how that all relates, and especially as we talk about cost of car.
The topic
cost of car relative to the contract. And so it's just listen, people are struggling out there. Like, it's in the buy here, pay here space. We're talking to a lot of people who are really struggling financially. Cost of car, obviously, in a COVID environment. Here we are stepping into this deal structure thing on August 1st and talking about deal structure in a time when car prices are finally flattening. Maybe we're seeing some evidence of slight decline, but bottom line is, your business model took a major shift, in the last 3 years.
And hopefully you've been able to just kind of shift
adapt,
with it
right,
and adapt with it, because I think we're seeing, and also if you have lenders, that they've been able to adapt as well. Because I think, just from my perspective, that's where there have been some of the real big challenges, and where you've seen doors closed, is where the new environment doesn't fit the paradigm of your covenants.
Well said. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But even if a dealer is using their own cash, it's like, and there aren't lenders in the picture, it's still a big business model shift. And the reason this becomes important is because we've heard experts say, back in our event in March, they talked about this thing about, lower gross will mean more success with your contract, like, very emphatically. So I'm looking forward to bringing together data that starts to talk about that, because what we're really addressing today, and we've been working through these conversations with some of our clients already, if you take the old model that I heard when I got in the business, which,
I've heard it talked about in other places too, when I watch things
say
on
to us,
social.
is, double your cost and add 1,000. And I'm like, that is so 1985. I'm sorry, that's just very 1985.
Yeah.
And we have much more information at our fingertips now. And so we need to figure out, especially with car costs being higher, how much less gross can we stand and still make the thing make sense? But for me, I tell you, you hear me talk about this, and we certainly talk about it in the context of leasing. It's like, regardless of what my cost of the car is, yes, that's my risk. Yes, subtract my down payment. That's how much cash I've got tied up. Absolutely. Now, beyond that, how's the contract going to perform if I'm getting 2,000 down and 500 a month, just picking numbers? Then almost irrespective of the cost of that car, that's what the contract is going to yield, right? So that's part of the strategy that I would be asking. And you've heard me, I think we've covered this on the morning show before, and I've got a pricing tool for people that are new to the industry and need a little help getting started. I'll just tell you, it's tricky when you're new, and it just takes a little practice and experience to get the hang of where to price. But I would just tell you, if I were your sales manager or your advisor, I would be asking you to price from how the car will finance, period. Ignore the cost until you've set the price and terms or proposed finance terms, and then do the math. How's that gross? Because cost of car is one thing. Cash in deal after down payment is another thing. So I would say, especially in this environment, we need to lean heavily on the gross profit relative to the cash in deal. Let's look at that number and let's figure out what can work, because we have to, and people are doing it. It's just that what I see a lot of is people are still holding on to the old strategy, trying to get that same kind of markup model. Cost of car, the price of car is way high.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to make it fit a term, and now the payment's way high. It's like it's the same 10-year-old car with the same miles that we were financing
and
before.
it's a customer that hasn't changed,
right?
In the same way that that the cost of cars have changed.
Yeah. So this is why this conversation becomes especially important. Why I think we're going to have fun charting it out for people and just say, let's just show you the math and let you make a judgment for yourself. But listen, as business advisors, I'm hearing people say, gosh, Jim, you're not much of a business advisor. You're asking me to cut my gross profit. That's not much of an advisor.
Is it a negative if you have better success with the loan going to term?
No, it's not. But I think it's one of those things that it's easy for us to talk about on the morning show. It's another thing to prove mathematically. Yeah. And so one of the things I'm going to be like, tiger on this. We'll just stay after it until we've got enough information.
And I could just say, those of you guys who know that we went on the road. This is going to have a point to it. And I'm going to try to give you a Reader's Digest.
I'm waiting.
That when COVID hit, we sold or gave away all of our furniture to kids, and we went on the road for a couple of years with a RV pulled behind 27 whatever foot trailer that we remodeled. And so we're bebopping around the country, enjoying social distancing with the squirrels and the woodpeckers and the coyotes, and just really great. And then when we wrapped up that part of our experience, we decided to get a different vehicle, because the vehicle that we bought at the beginning of this, bought it from a dealership. It was a very nice vehicle, and the payment was like $850 a month. And we were like, I don't want to spend that kind of money. It's just that's a lot of money to spend on, for us, it was like, that just doesn't make any sense. And so, we did something different, and it's like, so we cut our payments down, and it's just, the vehicle's just fantastic for what we need and all of that. And then I was having a conversation with a colleague in the industry, and they said that they're finding and they're seeing that the average payment hovers around $900. And I was like, I know what we make, and I didn't want to pay $800. And I know what our customers make, and they can't afford $800
for long.
Yeah. And so it's like, how do we do this then? How do we structure a deal so that people that our customers who don't have a lot of expendable income can afford it?
And of course, we know there are customers who can't afford that, but it's just that's a pretty small sliver of our segment typically. And so we're definitely going to be stunting our gross or suffering in terms of repo losses because of, payment to income ratio. So either way, I think the point is that we have to pivot, and to do that, we need good information. And I think we're working through it with some clients is how much gross profit do I really need in the deal because you got to factor in both the markup and the finance income. And so we just are digging into that math and trying to help dealers make a better judgment about how much can I cut my selling price and my, and my markup basically in the end, and still make the contract perform well. So I think what I look forward to showing, what we talked about at the open, was kind of this idea. I'm going to chart on a single chart. We will chart across at least 24 months, the depreciation in the car, the collateral recovery rate, the actual bulk value of that contract. Okay. So that we can start to look at what is that? Because when we look at the actual depreciation on the car itself, and we start to look at those things, and I think dealers can just have that information and make a better judgment for themselves in terms of, what that looks like. And as the data starts to come in here, we're a little early on the COVID curve in terms of, how much can you learn from the big jump in pricing from COVID? There's some data is going to be trailing in here, but really to take all of those loans across, because a lot of people jump to 4 years plus, right, in terms of term of loan. So the point is, some of those contracts we hope are still performing, and are still out there on the books, but we certainly want to be able to follow those all the way to the end and have a static
And it
pool.
is, there's, it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act. And it can be, you want to make sure you have really, really good information so that because White Hat Way dealer wants to see their customers succeed.
Right.
And if success means to the end of their loan, or success means to trade in, what does that look like?
Right.
And how can we as dealers do everything we can to run an effective business that makes a good living and also ensure the success of our customer?
Right, for sure. I think that's a good place to close up for today. We, it's a
fast
Friday.
one.
We can let people head to the lake or go collect car payments. Or
it's summer.
Some of them may be out doing repos today.
I hope.
It's the reality of the business. It's right.
Yeah.
It's part of
So be watching for this email that's going to be going out. And if you don't get one, and you haven't gotten one by Monday or whatever, just reach out to us, because this is like the first email kind of survey thing to some of the things we've been talking about, of getting to a point where we can start to talk to or survey actual customers about customer behavior,
right,
and what their why different things happen.
Sure.
And so that dealers can understand instead of just guessing.
Yeah. The first round here is the dealer perspective on these things. So that survey again will go out today. So look for that in your email.
Yeah, and it's only like 5 questions. It's really fast.
And we're not sure how many of those are going to land in spam folder. So just BHPH Nation TV on the subject line.
That in the subject line.
And we'll make sure and get a survey out so we can get some responses and get some information back to you.
Because it will really be, those of you who fill out the survey, will be giving you the responses. We'll send you like, this is what was said across the board, and so that regardless of whether or not you want to continue on with your surveying your customer or our customers, that you will be getting the information on where other dealers perceive the questions, what the
first
answers
thing
are.
First, answer these. They're like 5 questions. It'll take you a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So just answer those 5 questions, and then we'll know where to go from there. But we should wrap up and let our folks get on to their Friday. But
good morning, Tanisha.
Oh, we got Tanisha's son popped in to say hi. Hey, Tanisha.
So nothing else. Have a
quick mention of the
Fantastic.
September event.
Oh, yeah.
September. We still got 3 spots.
Yeah.
We're still talking to a number
We
of
have
people.
and so
those spots are going to go away, folks.
Yeah, they will. Thank you so much for joining. Have a fantastic weekend. I hope you guys have a super successful and write lots of really great contracts.
There you go.
Over the weekend. And we will see you on Monday. Oh, by the way, Monday we have a special guest joining us, Jason Goodman, and we're going to be talking about what is a good lead.
Yeah.
Or a bad lead.
Or what's a bad lead.
Yeah. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you on Monday.